Hello, everyone. Welcome to Build's Character. I'm Todd Kenreck, your creative manager over at D&D Beyond. I shove creative content out at you. I throw it at you. Yes, that's usually D&D related. I am joined by Lauren Urban, our community manager over at D&D Beyond. She's always lurking in that Twitch, but not this
I
Twitch.
help serve that content unto you.
That is true. She helps serve it. Yes.
Yes.
I am in a chef screaming. And
and I'm your sous chef. Is that how this works?
I think you're my sous chef.
Okay.
Joey's my sous chef, I think, and then and then you're like, I don't know. I don't know the order of restaurants. It's been a while. So, speaking of clerics,
hi.
There's a couple of things that's happening today. At some point during the show, we will be giving away a copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. If you haven't checked that out, it's amazing. It's chock full of subclasses and all kinds of other stuff. The kind of stuff I obsess with on a daily basis. It's how I go to sleep at night. I make a character and then I go to sleep knowing I've made a wonderful new character. Also, we will be taking questions in chat, so go ahead and do that, but we won't answer until we're done talking about these new subclasses that you can find in Tashas. So today we're talking about clerics. Lauren Urban knows a lot about clerics.
What,
Lauren,
me?
I know, it's shocking. Didn't you run an entire cleric campaign?
Not a campaign, but a one-shot, yes. For our anniversary, for our 3rd anniversary, I ran an entire game of people playing clerics. And it's one of those super versatile classes. I think you can run, especially one-shots, if not any campaign, with people playing multiples of the same class. But clerics are one of those that have not just a variety of domains, but because of the different flavors behind them and because of the fact that you can repick your spells, I think you can literally have an entire party of all of the same subclass of cleric, and everybody would still be a distinct character. And it's actually lots of fun. I highly recommend playing. Everybody be from the same order, everybody be from the same town, everybody be friends and go out being cleric adventurers together.
Yeah, it's a fun experiment too, especially like for a one shot and even campaign wise.
Yeah,
like all rogue parties work strangely well. Horrifyingly well, I would say.
And then make them all Aarakocra.
No, that's what we cook for Thanksgiving.
Nope. That's who shows up for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
So
we're talking about clerics
with a vengeance. So
yeah, that's how we're transitioning to the peace domain.
Yes.
This is perfect.
So let's so in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, tell me about the peace domain.
So the peace domain is that cleric that is there to try to be the negotiator. They are the person who is there not just as a healer in spirit and in body, but in conversation. I am excited really to play one of the peace domain clerics because of the fact that it comes with all of these blessings to help people connect with each other and communicate with each other and to be peaceful with each other. But they are still willing to and able to be able to defend themselves and their friends when you've got someone who just won't listen. So should we just dive right into some of the fun that you get in the peace domain?
Yeah. So, I mean, they do give a few examples of like the different gods that would be associated with the peace domain. Unshockingly, Paladin is one of them. And there's a large list for elves, people in Ebron, all that stuff. So there's enough information for you to easily use the peace domain in virtually any setting. The domain spells are very on point. So for the peace domain spells, we've got first level, we've got heroism, which is good. Sanctuary, which is more helpful than I ever knew until I started playing in Silver and Steel. We've got aid, we've got warding bond, which makes tons of sense. Beacon of hope, sending aura purity. We got resilient sphere, greater restoration, and telepathic bond. This is all about connection.
It's connection,
protecting.
Exactly. Yeah. It's protecting your friends. It's connecting with people. It is making sure that when things go wrong, maybe those people have a bit more chance of of altering the situation. Autoluke's resilient sphere is kind of an amazing spell.
Mhm.
In when you deploy that on the battlefield, if a fight has broken out and all of a sudden someone is just impervious, you're essentially just taking them out of the battlefield. And I've seen that deployed as a timeout for two people talking. I've
Mhm.
watched people use that specific spell as a you two go over there and talk and not have to worry about fighting that's happening out here or other things. You know, go negotiate in a corner. And that's a great spell for anyone who's trying to be a negotiator to have. I love that so much.
Yeah, so, can you run me through the first level spells? I mean, the first level abilities that we see with the, peace domain.
Sure. So, implement of peace, you gain proficiency in insight, performance, or persuasion, your choice, which all totally makes sense. I do find it interesting, like insight and persuasion, 100%. Why not? Performance is an interesting one.
I imagine that is almost like being that cleric who can give a rousing speech to multiple people and get them aligned.
Yeah,
So certainly, like I would typically as a DM use a persuasion skill, but I could see someone using performance skill as well. So
exactly.
yeah, that you're right. That is kind of like an unusual outlier, but I can see that use. I mean, if you look at something like a motivational speaker, right, who is all about communication, who's all about connection, performance does kind of uh, fall into that category. So I understand that.
Absolutely. And this is a cleric in where you're going to want to put some of your skills into charisma.
Hmm.
Because it's one thing to be insightful and to see what the other person is feeling and to have an idea of what to say. And it's completely another thing to say it. So I just love that there's a hint of bard in this cleric. Maybe that's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
And then for emboldening bond, you forge an empowering bond among people who are at peace with each other. As an action, you choose a number of willing creatures within 30 feet of you. This can include yourself, equals your proficiency bonus. You create a magic bond among them for 10 minutes or until you use this feature again. While any bonded creature is within 30 feet of each other, the creature can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. And you can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get everything back in a long rest. This is bless for everybody all the time. It's amazing. I love it.
It is, and it is basically an innate ability to cast bless, but not saying you're doing bless, which means you can now layer bless on top of this. So now, I mean, this is a cleric that is probably dropping bless on top of this, and now everyone gets a 2d4. That is really strong
Yeah, yeah.
on all of those checks. And we have seen this a little bit in Tasha's, where they specifically replicate a spell, but they don't call it a spell, and that helps kind of uh, you know show that it has added effect, added bonus, that it's not conflicting with anything else going on. And I like that they did this. Um,
And the fact that it does work with attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws means this is useful in pretty much any of the pillars of D&D. You
right.
can use this in conversations. You can use this in combat. You can use this. You can use the sneaking around. This is the moment in where if you need your cleric in heavy armor to not be so bad at sneaking because you need to avoid some horrible thing that's out in the woods. You're casting this. You're casting a whole bunch of other things to dampen this, but this is a way that you can help your entire party in almost any situation.
Very
um
powerful at first level.
yeah,
I mean,
and it doesn't require anything like any verbal components. It doesn't require you to show your
oh, good
holy
point.
symbol.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
You can do this on the sly, which uh that's one of the things that you have to remember as a cleric. All of your spells require verbal components.
Yeah.
Most of your features require verbal components. While you can be a cleric that does not pray to a specific deity, the idea of prayer is very ingrained into clerics, and that's usually in a verbal way. It is hard to be a silent cleric. This is one of the few features that allows you to do something really impactful and meaningful, and you can do it without anyone noticing, which is amazing.
Now at second level, we've got our channel divinity. We've got Balm of Peace. You can choose your channel divinity to make your very presence a soothing balm. As an action, soothing balm, not bomb, by the way, if you're wondering. You can move. You can move up to your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. When you move within 5 feet of another creature during this action, you can restore a number of hit points to that creature, equal to 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier. A creature can receive this healing only once whenever you take this action. It's really interesting. This is a cleric who is walking around during the battlefield. You're almost a combat medic in a sense, because
this is the healer's feat.
You're not getting this. Yeah, you're not getting this. You're not provoking any of attacks of opportunity on the battlefield. You may be running in between monsters, and you're just moving near someone else. And as I'm looking at this, yeah, if you only have to be within 5 feet, so you're not. This isn't even touch. You really are kind of this battlefield cleric at this point. It's super useful. And let's see what kind. But it's an action. It is an action.
It's an action, but it's still a decent amount of hit points for an action. If you're talking about you're getting within 5 feet of a creature, and so you're replacing a cure wounds, which is fairly equivalent. I mean, you're going down to d6s, but now you can do this, and it's because it gives you that movement as well. That is the way that you rush in. And also remember, because this is a feature, you then have the bonus action heal. So you can do this as your action. You can bonus action healing word, and you can double up if you absolutely need to.
But it really is the thing that really sticks out, is that not provoking an opportunity attack.
This highlights the whole idea of when you do get into combat, what your role is. And while it might not be as healing effective as a life cleric, it is really, I'm here to protect my allies. I'm here to help people. I'm here to prevent people from being hurt, injured, or dying. And I think this is wonderful. I love this.
It's very evocative. Like, you can just see how this is going to change combat in your game for your cleric.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is literally altering the battle map for you. So I think that's very interesting. So tell me about Protective Bond at 6th level.
All right, the bond you forge with people helps them protect each other. When a creature affected by your Emboldening Bond feature is about to take damage, a second bonded creature within 30 feet of the first can use its reaction to teleport to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the first creature, and the second creature takes all of the damage instead. So this is some of those stacking features that clerics don't often get, but you drop your Emboldening Bond in combat, and now you can use this to help the tanky tank switch places essentially with the wizard. This is how you protect the more squishy people, vulnerable people who you're rushing in to go heal, but somebody else is going to get there first and going to attack them. You're rushing in to save their life because they're on death saving throws. Because it says it's just a creature that you're bonded with. That creature, the second creature does not have to be conscious. So if you've got someone you're trying to save from death, this is one of the ways you get your barbarian, your fighter, your rogue, whoever you need in there to stop someone from taking a bunch of damage. And it's a reaction play, so you do have to have a lot of interaction between you and the members of your party, which is another thing that I love. Like, these kind of those moments where you're like, all right, who's got a reaction? Who wants to be the person that is going to use this? Who's going to be the jumping in point? I'm going to embolden it. You're going to be the person that saves them. It's a team effort to save somebody.
I can see some really sneaky stuff of sending the warlock ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Warlock's not typically exceptionally tanky, but say you send the warlock ahead knowing you're going to get hit. So you kind of, well, let's see. If it takes any damage, the second bonding creature within 30 feet can use this reaction, teleports to occupied space. The second creature takes all the damage instead. I'm not sure that would work with Hellish Rebuke.
No, because they won't take damage. But it's still like, your idea is like, I was thinking less about sneaky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and more about like your charisma cleric. Like we're sending in the negotiator who maybe isn't the most
Oh
tanky,
yeah,
tanky,
that's a
tanky.
very good point. That is very on point for like being a negotiator.
Yeah, and we're all gonna stand 30 feet back. And if
That
things
fails,
pop
tank.
off, then suddenly the barbarian is standing there, you know, or the fighter or the paladin or whoever in the heavy armor is just and literally nopes the attack, which is amazing. Now it is
Yeah,
interesting. The second creature takes the damage. This isn't the attack roll is suddenly shifted to them.
it is interesting to me because the wording on Hellish Rebuke is you point your finger at the creature that damaged you and momentarily surround yourself with hellish flames. That creature must make a saving throw or take 2d10. The creature that damaged you. So
And
in this instance, this feels like a very Jeremy Crawford question. Who's the one that damaged you?
I think if the first creature is the one doing the hellish rebuke, I don't think it would work because they're not taking any damage.
I'm always
Now,
looking for the sneaky warlock action on these things, but this is fantastic. This really is. And again, I think you can think quite tactically, like you said, like you send in the bard kind of talks a little too much, and then you're like, no, okay, let's send in Gregor, the barbarian, to ease the negotiations now that they've become quite hostile. It's a great feature. I love stuff like this. Warding Bond is one of my single favorite spells in all of D&D, and any ability, and we see this a little bit with the Rune Knight as well, or also the Oath of Redemption, anything that reflects damage or deflects it to another target and helps save your party. I love that stuff. I cannot express. I think it's kind of clever and sneaky, but it's also very, very beneficial to everyone involved.
the other nice thing about this is because Emboldening Bond includes you or can include you.
Yeah.
If you've really leaned into the idea of this being a cleric that is a negotiator, if you've poured time and effort into your negotiating skills, your persuasion and your insight and your performance, and you're the person out front doing the negotiating, you can now get one of your friends to come up and help you. So this isn't even that you're sending somebody else. You can be the person and call aid to your side immediately.
The other thing that's interesting is when you use this is really the sacrifice play. Like someone may die. And either way, either of these characters could die from the damage. And you being this cleric making that choice to jump in is very sacrificial and could make a major moment in any campaign. So it's a very interesting ability. I think it's really fun. I think there's a lot of it. Really kind of it definitely gives you opportunity to role play also, and to really show off. Like if you want to play that heroic character that's willing to make the hard sacrifices, I think this is really great.
It also continues down the line of where we are looking for peace. We're negotiating for peace. We're going to talk to everybody that we can, but we're not pushovers. We're not going to just roll over as soon as you attack, and we can defend ourselves, which I think is a really important part of this cleric.
I think this also works very well with the Paladin Oath of Redemption, which is probably my favorite Paladin, honestly. The Oath of Redemption allows you to, you're trying to fix everything. You get a bonus to like your persuasion. You believe in the greater good, but push come to shove, you hit one of my friends, I'm going to reflect that damage back at you. Right?
Exactly.
You're like, I'm still going to scrap. Okay. Like just because I'm arguing on your behalf doesn't mean you can push me too far. So at 8th level, we get potent spell casting. This is you add your wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with any cleric cantrip. This isn't really, now this is a little bit of a departure for this, but this is more into this war medic kind of mentality. Now your cantrips do a significant more amount of damage, and this is only damage. It's not too healing as well, but specifically damage. So you really are meant to be in the thick of everything.
And this is something that it is in some other cleric subclasses to help beef that up. But it's nice that it's not in all of them, but this is kind of a standard feature. And it's nice in this specific cleric, as you said, because it's about that moment of the talking has ended, the fighting must begin, or the protecting must begin. So
Yeah, and I see that person on the battlefield. That beginning moment of Saving Private Ryan or anything like that. You, you see those combat medics just moving one to one, trying to save everybody, but eventually they gotta like fight. Sometimes they gotta fire a gun too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's talk about Expansive Bond. 17th level. This is the big capstone.
Yeah, so this benefits your Emboldening Bond and Protective Bond. So this is once again one of those stacking features.
Yeah.
It now works with creatures when they're within 60 feet of each other. So you can kind of expand your radius, which is always really useful for clerics because a lot of stuff that clerics do are that 30-foot to touch radius. So anytime that you don't necessarily have to be right there, it's really good. Moreover, when a creature uses Protective Bond to take someone else's damage, the creature has resistance to this damage, which is also super useful. So this is just empowering and making the things you can already do, making them better. And it's taking away a little bit of that risk that you talked about with, someone jumping in to take the damage and potentially getting killed in the process.
Right.
Now there's and now you can even think even more tactically of like, I'm about to take fire damage. Maybe I get the tiefling up here who is already resistant to fire, and now they're also resistant to just all the damage. You can be really tactical about how you use this.
Resistance doesn't stack. So that's the thing on that. So I don't think the ruling for that would be okay. The tiefling takes a fireball, but also has resistance to that on top of it. I don't think that's how that works.
I would have to look that up because I thought that was how that works. As long
I believe
as it came from
what was it, Jeremy Crawford call that resistance does not stack. Yeah. I'm fairly sure it is kind of interesting because it's not like you have fire resistance and then fire resistance. But resistance is resistance. So I don't believe it becomes a quarter, but maybe a quarter of the damage. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
If we're wrong, the comments will be very clear about how wrong we are, I'm sure. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. But yes, whether or not that is
it's still very advantageous. Gives you more reason to do this more often.
Exactly.
This is very, very important, especially if you're in a fight at 17th level. I mean, you're in it, right? You're not messing around with kobolds.
Exactly.
So you're taking down liches at this point. So
I love how we both went for lich. Yeah. I don't know why.
We're watching out for that disintegration.
You're watching out for stuff that is gonna be their big
and
play,
that's the thing is this is resistance flat. So we're talking like if it's doing force damage or something that is really hard to be resistant to.
Or psychic damage, or
psychic damage is also very hard to be resistant to. There's a little bit extra out there that can protect you from that, but yeah, like force damage is the nightmare of damage.
Yeah.
So this kind of can help you mitigate that. So all right, let's talk about some questions. We got some questions in chat about this particular subclass.
We do. Thank you for all your questions. The mods have been sending them along. While we are pulling up questions, I think now would be a good time to give away a copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything in chat. Watch for what the mods say to do, so you can enter for that. We'll start with this person that I know. Luke McKay wants to know, Peace Domain Forbidden Feet toke up.
What?
Yeah, Darth Theek wants to know, how would the peace domain work for your pacifist character you made, Todd?
Oh, that's interesting. Like I haven't thought about integrating it because I am pretty obsessed with the pacifist character, and I'm surprised people remember this. But yeah, I like the reflection classes. I like someone who's constantly trying to talk his way out of things or try to calm everyone down. So I had messed around with the Paladin Oath of Redemption because they have a lot of abilities that shut damage down or punish people for doing damage. The Rune Knight has a similar ability that can actually cause, like when someone attacks someone that that is a friend, you can cause them to in fact attack somebody else by using a bonus action on one of your runes. I believe that's the Cloud rune because that's very sneaky. And so I kind of want to build this ultimate character that can switch things around. I think that if you're I would probably go all in on I would have to look at these side by side, but the Balm of Peace is certainly really great for that Oath of Oath of Redemption paladin who maybe wants to be a little bit more of a medic. You've got Lay on Hands as well, but that takes an action. So the Lay on Hands is kind of like fighting for the same action. So I wouldn't
Kind of, but
necessarily
once
do that.
again, remember bonus action healing. As long as one of those
Right.
is not a spell, you have access to bonus action healing, which is one of the best things about having Healing Word.
Now, I mean, yeah, I think when we really get into the juice of this is that protective bond. So I feel like 6 levels in cleric, and then you start going paladin. It's pretty strong. But yeah, Emboldening Bond is great for everybody in general, and this also frankly stacks with your aura. So it makes you the most paladin-y paladin. I would say.
Or I would offer the Bard Cleric option in order to get those that help to your persuasion, to your oratory skills, to to be even more of that negotiator, that peacemaker that you want to be. I think I don't know if you'd want to just do a couple of levels of dip in one or the other.
It's very extreme. At some point, they're really taking off your DM when you get like a divine. You can use your channel divinity to get a +5 to your persuasion, and then you're never lower than a 10.
Yeah.
Now, like, I mean, you're just rolling 30s and 35s at this point. So
yeah, you go College of Eloquence.
Yeah, College of Eloquence gets really like intense.
Yeah,
with that.
it gets a lot of fun, and then you're also inspiring people. So you've got you're suddenly you're suddenly the character that actually has more bonus actions than they know what to do with.
Yeah, it becomes pretty bonus action heavy.
Yeah.
What's the next question?
Dark Abyss Keeper wants to know Peace Domain Cleric Lawyer, yes or yes?
Yeah.
So this is the dark version of this.
No, I totally agree, because peace does not mean peace can mean a lot of things. And I immediately thought, and it's an older movie, but it made me think of Chronicles of Riddick, where the necromongers invade these planets, right? But they do have this man who is an orator, who is almost like a bard, but I see him as a cleric who is now that we've won the battle, let's make peace with basically the people that we have oppressed. And he very much fills this role of like, all right, let's all connect, let's all bond, let's all like, this could be a very manipulative cleric, right? If you wanted to play an evil version of this, which I love doing, by the way, I love playing a subclass that is very obviously geared towards being a good character, but in the hands of a villain who thinks they're right. And I think this is perfect for that kind of thing.
And it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's our last question for clerics is from Call Me Kramer, who wants to know, how could a peace domain cleric be explored with non-good alignments, such as a tyrannical bad guy whose ultimate goal is widespread peace through domination? Yeah, I actually one of the few evil campaigns I've ever run, that was the goal of the tyrant, was I want everybody to get along and stop fighting with each other. And if you just all would, worship me, then that can happen. So yeah, I mean,
and you had a lot of experience with this with Saranthus.
Yeah.
And Beyond Heroes, where she just believed she was right to that dangerous degree and wanted peace, but peace also had a cost.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back into that idea of paladins as well. It can feel like paladins, that those subclasses, some of them especially, are geared towards, lawful goodies. And no, it's just how you flavor things, and it's how extreme you go in ways, and what are you willing to do to get your goals. And if your goal is everybody stop fighting, there's not necessarily there's sometimes that's not a good thing. So
yeah, in a world that is entirely lawful good, the last people that get put in prison are the neutral good ones.
In a world.
Yeah. So eventually, how far can you push the concept of lawfulness and goodness?
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is available now on D&D Beyond. Purchase before January 5th to unlock the Cauldron dice set, as well as character sheet backdrops, themes and frames.